The world is watching the games people play. I don't mean transaction analysis, but I mean the games played at London Olympics. Let's also watch the games the people play and make ourselves happy. Welcome once again to News Analysis. News Analysis, a weekly magazine on current affairs. To begin with, the main points in a nutshell. Syria crisis, Iran pledges support for vital partner. Jared Loughner may plead guilty to Arizona shooting. Floods paralyze Philippine capital, Manila. US soldier killed in green on blue Afghanistan attack. Facebook's first real cash gambling app launched. India pledges clarity in tax laws as it seeks growth. Now, the news in detail. Syria crisis, Iran pledges support for vital partner. Iran's security chief has told President Bashar al-Assad that Syria is part of a vital regional alliance that Tehran will not allow to be broken. During talks in Damascus, Saeed Jalil said Syria was an essential part of the axis of resistance. The statement came a day after Syrian Prime Minister Riyad Hijab defected to the opposition. Syrian TV showed President Assad greeting Mr. Jalili, his first TV appearance in 2 weeks. President Assad was last seen on state TV on 22nd of July, 4 days after a bomb killed 4 security chiefs in Damascus, leading to speculation about his death and whereabouts. State television said Mr. Assad had told Mr. Jalili of the determination of the people and government of Syria to cleanse the country from the terrorists and fight against terrorism unreservedly. He said Syria would continue on the path of national dialogue and that it was capable of thwarting the foreign conspiracies. Mr. Jalili was quoted as saying Iran will not allow the axis of resistance, of which it considers Syria to be an essential part, to be broken in any way. Correspondents say axis of resistance refer to Iran, Syria, Hezbollah in Lebanon, and Palestinian Islamist group Hamas in Gaza. Tehran says it's planning an international meeting in Syria on Thursday. It's also trying to secure the release of a group of Iranians abducted by rebels from a bus in Damascus on Saturday. As well as Mr. Jalili's visit to Damascus, Iranian Foreign Minister Ali Akbar Salehi is holding talks in the Turkish capital, Ankara. US held responsible. An unconfirmed report from the rebels has suggested that 3 of the 48 hostages they are holding have been killed by army shelling. Mr. Jalili, who heads Iran's Supreme National Security Council and is considered as a senior aide to Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, told reporters that kidnapping innocent people is not acceptable anywhere, Iran's official news agency IRNA reported. Iran's Deputy Foreign Minister Hossein Amir Abdullahian has said it holds the US responsible for the hostages' safety. He said the US was supporting terrorist groups and dispatching weapons to Syria and was therefore responsible for the lives of those abducted. Rebels say the group are members of Iran's Revolutionary Guard. Tehran says they are pilgrims who had been heading for Shia religious site. Jared Loughner may plead guilty to Arizona shooting. The man accused of shooting a U.S. congresswoman in Arizona could enter a guilty plea later if a judge finds him mentally competent. Last year, experts said Jared Loughner, 23, had schizophrenia and his case was put on hold. A psychiatrist is due to testify he is competent to enter a plea which could spare him the death penalty. Former Arizona Representative Gabrielle Giffords left office and continues to recover from the January 2011 attack. She said she would be satisfied with Mr. Loughner's plea deal. Her husband, Mark Kelly, wrote, "The pain and the loss caused by the events of January 8, 2011 are incalculable. Avoiding a trial will allow us, and we hope the whole southern Arizona community, to continue with our recovery and move forward with our lives." Courtroom outbursts. Mr. Loughner has been forcibly medicated with psychotropic drugs for more than a year at a prison hospital in Springfield, Missouri. A not guilty plea was entered on his behalf last year. He is due in court at 11 local time, 18 hours GMT, for a competency hearing followed by a change of plea hearing if he is found mentally fit. Mr. Loughner is charged with 49 criminal counts, including first-degree murder. Tuesday's proceedings will be the fourth time he appears in court for a judge to determine his mental competence. In May 2011, Mr. Loughner was declared unfit to stand trial after he had an outburst in the courtroom. His stay in the hospital had been previously extended after a judge found that measurable progress had been made by those treating him. The college dropout is suspected of killing 6 people and wounding 13 others, including the former congresswoman, in an attack in Tucson, Arizona. Ms. Giffords, a Democrat, was holding a regular constituency event at a supermarket when she was shot in the head at close range. A federal judge and 9-year-old girl were among the victims of the shooting. Ms. Giffords' seat is now occupied by Ron Barber, her former aide, who was also injured in the shooting. He is standing for re-election to a full 2-year term in November. Floods paralyzed Philippine capital, Manila. At least 9 people have been reported dead as torrential rain caused flooding that paralyzed most parts of the Philippine capital, Manila. The flooding, neck deep in some areas, forced tens of thousands of people to flee their homes, closing schools, offices, and stock exchange. 9 members of the family died after a landslide hit shanty houses in Quezon City, government report said. More than 50 people died when Typhoon Saola struck more than a week ago. Widespread flooding has been reported in the capital and the surrounding provinces, according to a statement from the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council. It said the southwest monsoon, enhanced by tropical storm Haikui, located 300 kilometers northeast of Taiwan, was expected to bring more rain. Expect landslides and flash floods in mountainous areas and floods in low-lying areas. President Benigno Aquino met civil defense officials to discuss the situation. Everybody who is supposed to do something is doing what he is supposed to do, he said. The severity of the rain since Monday afternoon in an already saturated city has led officials to issue the highest level of alert, says reporters in Manila. Casualties from members of another family were rushed to hospital in the landslide that killed the family in Manila's Quezon City, according to the government's disaster council. "This is where my house used to be. This one is the end of our fence." Jesse Bailon, one of those affected by the landslide, was quoted by the Associated Press news agency as saying. He said that his wife, 2 children, and 1 grandchild were still missing. Another resident said the ground was shaking and that he barely made it before the landslide hit his house. A local police official was also quoted as saying that 4 people had drowned in another province, but this has not been confirmed. U.S. soldier killed in green on blue Afghanistan attack. A U.S. NATO soldier in Afghanistan has been killed by 2 gunmen wearing Afghan army uniform, officials say. 2 other American soldiers were wounded in the incident in eastern Afghanistan, a U.S. official told the Associated Press agency, AP news agency. It's the latest in a series of so-called green on blue attacks where men wearing Afghan army uniforms turned their guns on coalition troops. At least 9 civilians were killed in a separate bomb blast near Kabul. The remote-controlled device hit a minibus in Pangman district on Tuesday. Reports say the intended target could have been a bus carrying Afghan soldiers that had passed moments before. A man suspected of placing a bomb was arrested after villagers gave a chase, according to AP. Another attack on NATO base in Pule Alam, Logar province, injured 17 Afghan civilians and 3 NATO soldiers, officials said. A senior Afghan intelligence official in Logar province blamed the Haqqani network for the NATO base attack. The Haqqani network is closely allied to the Taliban and reportedly based in Pakistan. It has been blamed for several high-profile attacks against Western, Indian and government targets in Afghanistan. In other developments, officials in Paris have said that 1 French soldier has been killed and another wounded in a firefight with insurgents in Kapisa province. The wounded soldier is expected to survive, a statement from the Prime Minister's office said. Foreign troops are preparing to hand full responsibility for the security to Afghan forces by the end of 2014. France plans to have removed its troops from the country by the end of this year.
Things are perfect, and much work remains to be done. But for every bribe accepted, and for every insider threat, or what is known as a green-on-blue incident, and I think you're aware that tragically we had one overnight, as 2 young British soldiers were killed in the Helmand province. For every 1 Afghan soldier that doesn't return from leave, I can cite hundreds of other examples where they do perform their duties, where the partnership is strong, the competence of the Afghan forces is building, and where the trust and confidence we have in them and that they have in themselves grows steadily. We